went to bleeding races, 'twas on the 9th of June, 1862 on a summer's afternoon. I took the bus to Banbury's and she was heavy laden. Away we went along Collingwood Street, that's on the road to bleeding.
You're watching Toon Army TV. Welcome to the channel. This is the match preview. It's Newcastle versus Fulham this Saturday at St James's Park. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff live on the TV. Just as well, the games are coming thick and fast after a heavy 5-2 defeat to Leeds United. We need to bounce back very quickly. Just before I jump into the preview, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. It's free. Hit the like button. Turn on the notification bell so you're notified for when I drop a video. And make sure you follow me on social media, Toon Army TV, Instagram and Twitter. And put your comments down below for your start 11s and your score predictions. What changes would you make? And also comment in the section down below your thoughts after that heavy defeat to Leeds United if you haven't already watched the match reaction video that was posted on Wednesday night. So jumping straight into the game, Newcastle United start off this game in 14th place in the Premier League. We have dropped down 2 places. We still hold 17 points. However, with that 5-2 defeat to Leeds United, it's starting to look a little bit concerning because with a win, it could have put us further clear of the relegation zone. And with teams at the bottom starting to pick up points, Newcastle have still got a battle on their hands. We've still got to look nervously of what could happen if we continue to perform in the manner in which we are. As for Fulham, they go into this game in 17th place. However, I am recording on the Thursday. Burnley do have a game in hand on them, or a couple of games in hand. They do take on Aston Villa, and if Burnley can get a point, then Fulham can go down into the relegation zone before a ball is kicked at St James's Park. So it could all change. Now, looking at our last games. So Newcastle, we lost 5-2 to Leeds United. Leeds United were by far the better side. And I have to say, I wasn't expecting the result to be as bad as it was. I was expecting maybe a 3-2. Not 5-2, but the way we just collapsed in that second half, it was embarrassing to say the least. It really was. And a 2-2, it could have went either way. But Newcastle do what they always do. And we just sit back and just give up. And Leeds United, fair play to them. You know, they're a good side. But the 3 goals that they scored could have been dealt with. However, fair play to Leeds. As for Fulham, well, their last couple of games, they've really started to pick up a bit of form. Liverpool was a game where I feel like they could have won it, but they ended up drawing 1-1. And then against Brighton, they drew 0-0, a game which could have went either way. Brighton did have a ball into the back of the net, however, was done for offside. But Fulham also had chances, but that's a kind of game that Fulham would be expected to have won, given that Brighton are also not having a good start to the season. But then, if you look at how Fulham have been now, to what they have been and maybe at the start of the season, it's not a bad couple of points to have picked up because they could have actually lost both of them. Now, as for Fulham, well, it's the return of Scott Parker. Scott Parker used to play for Newcastle, still class him, you know, as one of us. Great player, great servant for the club, and it's good to see him, you know, back in management, to see him take Fulham into the Premier League and try and make a name for himself in management. And of course, it's going to be a tough season for him. He knows that. But he's starting to really learn how the game is. And he's developing, you know, a lot of the younger players coming through that Fulham academy. And he can see that the players want to play for him despite what's going on. And the owners have real faith in him. You look at also Mitrovic, the return of Mitro, the one who I used to get really frustrated with. And it was a case of the player in Mitrovic, he was 50-50 with me. Some games he'd be good, some games he'd be bad. But he was frustrating because, you know, I expected so much from Mitrovic, but didn't get too much because his performances were very inconsistent. Sometimes his temper would get the better of him and yeah, it's the return of Scott Parker and Mitro. So they both be, drawn up a game plan to try and get 3 points from us on Saturday night. So it's gearing up to be a big game, for both sides, but more so ourselves after, that big defeat against Leeds United. So we're going to look at the injuries and suspensions. So for Newcastle, we are missing a few players. So Lascelles has been missing our captain. Is he going to be back for Fulham? Well, it's a question mark. We'll wait and see in Steve Bruce's press conference. Dubravka's been out for a while. Dummett's been out for a while. We haven't seen Matty for a while. There'll be a few players that are missing, but we'll find out in the coming days what's going on with them, as we need to try and bring as many players back as possible with the games coming thick and fast. As for Fulham, well, they are missing a couple of players from my notes. So Kenny Tete, he's going to be missing, and also Terence Congolo, he's going to be out until at least mid-December, but that could all change. Fulham fans, if there's any players missing through injuries and suspensions, do let me know down below in the comments, but I don't believe that there is, and you've got a few ineligible players, but then you might know better than me that because you support, obviously, Fulham, week in, week out. So looking at both managers, how they set up, Steve Bruce goes with a 4-4-2 formation. Now, against Leeds, I wasn't happy because was it a 4-4-2 or was it a fake 4-4-2 with 5 at the back and trying to get away with it? Well, against Leeds, in my opinion, I believe it was a fake 4-4-2, 5 at the back, and he got well and truly outdone by Marcelo Bielsa. But if he goes back to 4-4-2, then he gives himself and us as a fan base a chance to you really get behind the side and get 3 points on Saturday, because it proved against Palace and West Brom we got back-to-back victories. So for me, none of this 5 at the back rubbish, and stick with 4-4-2. And Fulham fans, if you are watching, Steve Bruce tends to go with the 4-4-2, but he does like to mess around with the side. But I'm hoping that he sticks with the 4-4-2. Well, as for Fulham, I believe it varies under Scott Parker. Certain games he plays the 3-4-1-2 formation, and then other games he tends to go with the 3-4-2-1 formation. So it all depends on the side that Fulham are up against. If it's a good side, whereas they're playing a top 6 sort of club, then it could be a case of 1 up front. But then if they're playing a side that are in and around them, it could be 2 up front. Fulham fans, let me know down below in the comments, but I believe that's what you tend to go with. I'm not a massive fan of 3 at the back. I'm certainly not a fan of 5 at the back. I'm quite traditional. I'm quite old school. I do like 4 at the back, and that's something that I would tend to keep with. But again, I'm not Scott Parker. I'm not Fulham. But if it works for them, it works for them. But looking at the start of the season that they've had, well, it's not really looking good for them, is it? Yes, they're picking up form now, but can they keep it up for the rest of the season? Well, that remains to be seen. Now, in my notes for Newcastle, I demand a reaction on Saturday evening. It's important that we go again and look to put the wrongs right on Saturday night and try and get that early goal and look to build on a 1-0 lead, because against Leeds twice, we've come unstuck. And when I look back at that game, it could have been double figures to Leeds in terms of victory. And that's the way it's been under Steve Bruce. Too negative, just sitting back and doing nothing. Now, in terms of Fulham, again, they'll be looking for the same thing. Last couple of games, they've had a couple of draws, so they'll be looking to think, well, Newcastle aren't doing very well in terms of the last result. Let's try and cause more misery on Steve Bruce, and that's something they'll be looking to do. They've got players, I think, that can change a game. They've proven it in games gone by. Against Leicester, they've won 2-1. They've beaten West Brom, and they should have really beaten Liverpool. So they have got what it takes, and I don't really want to underestimate them, because very similar to Leeds, they've got a lot of pace. They've got a lot of decent players there that can turn the screw at any given time. Now, we're going to look at the players to watch for both sides. So Newcastle, Callum Wilson, for us, he's got 7 goals already this season. Could have scored double figures by now. He was very unfortunate against Leeds. Certain decisions didn't go his way, but listen, that game's past now. But he knows where the back of the net is, and if the service is right and Steve Bruce goes with the right formation, then he could stick a couple past you because we know how vulnerable you have been at the back, and he is a real threat for us. And without Callum Wilson's goals, we could easily be in the bottom three. Joe Linton has scored 1 goal already, and that was against Crystal Palace. But to be fair to the lad, he could have had a couple more goals. He was very anonymous against Leeds, but he wasn't alone in that. But he's still starting to improve, but we need to see more from him. Joe Linton is the type of player who he needs that partnership, and he's certainly doing well alongside Callum Wilson, so long may that continue. And you never know, if he gets a service, as mentioned with Callum Wilson, he could bag one on Saturday night, so you have to be careful for him because he is starting now to make those runs, whereas before he wasn't. Almiron, hopefully he starts this game. Didn't start against Leeds, did come off the bench. He has got a goal this season, but he is, a threat. Bruce tends to play him out wide, which I don't understand, but if you play him sort of as a number 10, then you will see the best of Almiron, and he will be looking to try and add goals to his game. He did score in the last home game against West Brom, could add a couple more. It's just a shame that he didn't start against Leeds because he was one of our better players against West Brom, and with your defence not being so good and being quite open, then he will be fancying his chances. Ryan Fraser, I will also put in there. Good to see him back for the Leeds game. Looked quite lively. Set up an assist for Hendrick's opening goal to give us that 1-0 lead, but of course didn't win the game. But he's got so much ability, the lad. He's got so much pace, and we need that. And with Ryan Fraser's pace, it will help out the likes of Callum Wilson, Joe Linton, Almiron, and Shelby and whatnot to make those runs, to be positive and get forward and create problems for your defence. As for Fulham, Mitrovic is a one to watch out for, ex-Newcastle. We know that Mitrovic will be a threat on the evening if he starts the game. I'm sure Scott Parker will give him some part in the match. So far this season, he's got 3 goals and he'll be looking for more. Mitrovic is the type of player, if you give him the service, then he will deliver. And that was just the kind of problem that he had at Newcastle. He wasn't getting as much service, but sometimes he wasn't helping himself. But all in all, I think he is a decent player, but he just has good games and bad games. And with 3 goals already, he'd be looking to add to that. And of course, he'll be wanting to get one over the TOON on Saturday evening and add to his goals tally. And he's very good from set pieces, or for example, free kicks, corners. He can stick his head into it, or a bit like Rondon, if you like. He can hold up the ball very well and score from literally anywhere, inside the box, outside the box. So Mitrovic is definitely one to watch out for. Our defence need to be mentally switched on. Bobby Decordova-Reid, another good player there for Fulham, who's been playing out wide but can play as a striker. He's got 5 goals for Fulham this season. He's got a bit of pace about him, likes to cut in, and he will be a threat on Saturday evening if he gets a lot of the ball. Lookman has got 2 goals for Fulham, who likes to play in that midfield but can be played up front. He's got 2 goals. He is a real threat. He does like to link up with the likes of Bobby Decordova-Reid, Mitrovic. So another player to watch out for on Saturday evening. And Cavallero, who's got 1 goal so far this season, will be looking to add to his tally, who plays up front as a striker. You think he should get more goals, and I do believe that he should be scoring more goals as a striker, but in the Premier League it's never easy. Fulham haven't had it easy, of course, with service and whatnot, so he'd be looking to try and add to that. And if he gets any service from the likes of Bobby Decordova-Reid, Mitrovic, Lookman, even Tom Kearney, if you like, then it will massively help Fulham as they go forward. So this is my starting lineup for Newcastle to take on Fulham this Saturday. So in goal, Carl Darlow. The back 4, I've gone with Jamal Lewis. I can't see him being dropped because he's our only left back that we have. I'd love to see him dropped because he's been very poor, but I think Steve Bruce will persist with him. But then if he is dropped, I'd like to see who he's going to be replaced with. Matt Ritchie, for example, is he going to play there? All depends. Then I'm going to go with Emil Kraft, Federico Fernandez and Kieran Clark. I wouldn't replace any of those. The only question mark would be Jamal Lewis. Now, in the midfield, I'm going to go with Matt Ritchie, John Joe Shelby, Almiron. Hopefully he's played in the number 10 and hopefully he starts the game. Ryan Fraser with Callum Wilson and Joe Linton up front. I believe that squad there should be good enough to get at Fulham, to put them under pressure and to make something happen on the night. So in terms of ending this match preview, in my notes, I've gone with we must start this game. We must look to start on the front foot. We have to be clinical. We have to make runs. We have to give the service to Callum Wilson, Joe Linton, and allow them to do their bit, which is to put the ball in the back of the net. And when we get chances in and around the box, we need to make sure that we put the balls in the back of the net. And when we get a lead, double it as quick as possible, because against Leeds, we were all too open, trying to play this all counter-attacking football. Against Fulham, I don't want to see us sitting back. I don't want to see this fake 4-4-2, 5 at the back. I want to see the basic 4-4-2, which we've been going with, and literally just get at them. Fulham, for me, are struggling, and they've only won a couple of games all season, and there's no excuse that we can't be picking up 3 points against these at St James's Park. Anything less is embarrassing. Steve Bruce, for me, knows now that he's under massive pressure. I mean, I said it against Leeds, he needs to resign as far as I'm concerned, but you're looking at these 2 games, in all due respect, Fulham is a must-win game, and then he's got Brentford in the Cup. If he loses both of them, then for me, I don't know how he keeps his job as far as I'm concerned. But they're 2 massive games for Steve Bruce now in order to deliver, and he must do. Any nerves from Leeds has to go. There's no excuse. There really isn't against Fulham. Yes, we know that they're a good side. We know that Scott Parker's got them well organised. However, I don't want to see sloppy defending either. And when Fulham do get forward, I want to see the defenders, or even midfielders, if you like, putting in tackles, because against Leeds, I simply didn't see it. And it's something we're massively going to have to improve on, because it was all too easy for Leeds. And Fulham are another newly promoted side. And very similar to West Brom and Leeds, they will give us a match. There's no question about it. They're not going to come here and just accept a draw unless we're dominating. So it's up to us to dominate the game in order to put them under pressure, cause them problems. And if we do take the lead, it can only be a good thing, because Fulham then would have to open up, and we know how bad Fulham are at the back. With the 3 at the back, I don't believe it works, but with the players that we have, there's simply no excuse on Saturday. There really isn't. Anything less, honestly, is not good enough for this football club. And can we hit 20 points before Christmas Day? That'll be good. That's kind of what we're aiming for. We should have more points, but to not be ungrateful, then the aim should be to beat Fulham on Saturday. There's no question about it. I know there'll be Fulham fans watching now thinking, well, we're not a bad side, you're sort of underestimating us. But when you're at home against sides who are going to be in the relegation zone come the end of the season, or then thereabouts, then of course I want to see my side get all 3 points. And Leeds game's gone now. We just have to go again, and whatever players get that chance have to take it. Otherwise, the more games that we lose, the pressure is just cranking up on Steve Bruce. So, score prediction, I'm going with Newcastle to beat Fulham 2-1. I think it will be a tight one. I wish I could say more, but after the Leeds game, I've got to be wary of what threats Fulham do offer and the way in which we've been playing. I just can't trust her at this moment in time. So, because we're at home and it's against Fulham, I will stick with that. It'll be 3 points on the board. We can kick on, gain the confidence for Brentford, and then look to try and smash them in the cup and then get through. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. But, it's supporting Newcastle United. You just don't know what's going to happen. So let me know your score predictions and your start 11s down below in the comment section. If there is any changes, if Steve Bruce mentions anything different to what I say in the preview, as I am recording on Thursday, then I will put them in the comments down below. So before I wrap up, make sure that you subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video from myself. I will be back with the Fulham reaction straight after the game, the new instant reaction. And if you haven't liked the video, if you've watched to this point and you haven't liked, hit that like button. So the more likes we get, it just helps the video to grow, helps the channel to grow. And if I haven't mentioned about social media, follow me on that as well. TOON Army TV, Instagram and Twitter. Anyway, I'll catch you all later. Enjoy the game, stay safe, and how are the lads?